So thank you very much for inviting me to this fascinating conference with all these different stakeholders that are here. I really enjoyed the conversations and the talk so far. So my name is Håkan Jönson, and I'm going to introduce some topics that we are dealing with in a huge European project called Next Food. It's about educating the next generation of professionals in the agri-food system. I myself come from I think, very different background than most of you, because I have a background in food culture studies. And before that, I was even a trained chef. So I have a sort of a strange mixed background. But during the last years, I've been working a lot with interdisciplinary projects. And I really believe that there is no use of knowledge if we cannot make it go outside academia and fit to deliver to practice. And I'm almost certain about that this road goes through collaboration across the sector. Let me guarantee you one thing, that if Plato has cooked, universities would have looked different. Plato hated cooking. I'm sure that you know that as Greek. And that also perhaps led him to organize academia in a way that is definitely not fit for the food system. Because when it comes to food, you can't divide food into biology, to chemistry, to physics, to law, to society, to culture, etc. It's all there. It's all condensed in the food itself. So I would prefer very much a food university where the food is in center and not the different disciplines. But anyway, that's a big topic. Now, this Next Food project is a part of the Horizon 2020 project that is, as you all are aware of, big European projects that are trying to develop a better and more sustainable future. We are dealing with some specific issues here to generate an innovative European science and education roadmap for sustainable agriculture and forestry along the value chain from research via production into application. Huge task, of course, but we have to start somewhere, right? And a very important thing, I guess, is to really take a step back and think about what skills will be needed to drive the change towards a more sustainable food and forestry production. We always get stuck in tradition. We know that both research and education, we are in a way stuck in a society, in the industrial way of thinking, where we believe that there are certain skills that are the only important things in order to make food and agriculture productive. But the skills, they are always changing. We're not eating the same food. We're definitely not having the same meal habits. And we have a lot of new disruptive technologies. We have new logistics, we have international collaborations, and so on. So there's a need to constantly redefine and rethink the skills needed. And the future education, it must be much more action-oriented, highly participatory, and multidisciplinary. At least that's the belief of myself and the others in the project. But what are the supporting and hindering forces for developing such educations? And how can research better be evaluated according to long-term social and economic impact on society? Right? So we're trying to deal with these questions in a number with some different approaches. And the first thing is, and that's what I'm trying to get a little bit input from you here in the audience and the panel today, is to do this inventory of skills. See what kind of, do some kind of review here, and I've also been doing some focus group here with Greek advisors, agronomists, and also with farmers the last day, and it was very fascinating indeed. Also, of course, identify the gaps in research and education. And then to do some road mapping. I mean, we need to get further. We need to develop an accreditation framework for education in food studies and sustainable agriculture and more. We are already working, and I think that the case study facilitated by the American Farm School is excellent in this project, on how to identify gaps in need and to test new curricula and training methods. And based on that, we hope to get more value on the future skills needed, also on the new policies needed, and much more practice-oriented research and education. There is something fascinating when you send students out there to do project-oriented work in the real world. They really have to think about, okay, what are my skills, and what did I know, and what do I not know? And also to have the dialogue, not only with the student, but also with the teachers, and primarily with the farmers themselves. We need also to identify the policy instruments that support this transition towards a more action and practice-oriented learning methods. As again, there was a time when most of the current education programs were developed, and both agriculture and society as a whole looked completely different. But there is a sort of, self-playing piano. And if there is no incentives, no policy, no one that forces you to change the education, we in the academia that are dealing with the education program, we continue to go on just business as usual, because that's what causes our least stress and least work. Another work that I myself is very much engaged in is to find some new peer-reviewed tools for evaluating quality of the practice-oriented research. Because we all know that there is far too much knowledge that stays in academia. That was also a very important issue that the Greek farmers that I met a few days ago stressed. We don't get the knowledge. We are sure that we know that you know quite a lot, but we have no access to it. They had more access to knowledge through the social media communities that they were working with than they had with the researchers. And they are not to blame. It's us. It's the academics. We are the one to blame, because we are stuck in this trap of excellence that has also been supported by our governments and by the European Union and so on. That the idea about excellence, that it's only publish in peer-reviewed journal with high impact, etc., etc. But does that make the world any better at all? Perhaps it could, if there had been a system where you took all that new knowledge from the excellent peer-reviewed impact journals and actually implemented them in practice. But it is for now so many of brilliant researchers. They're just stuck in there writing yet another article, yet another article, yet another article, and so on, that is read by the same 10 to 20 scholars worldwide, right? And that does not help us to make this a more sustainable future. So we will try to get a new peer review system that could have some backup from the European Union research programs, and could be implemented all across Europe. We are a consortium of 19 partners led by the Swedish University of Agriculture, and here you can also see that we have quite a few partners from Greece, which I'm very happy about, and there are a lot of things to contribute, and I've already seen a lot of contributions from the Greek partners in this project. Now I want to finalize this presentation with some discussion point. I want to have some input from you, from the panel, and hopefully also from the audience. I mean, when you look at the future, what kind of skills do you think that agri-food professionals will have to develop further? Because you are the real experts on that. I'm sure about that. And also, what are the most critical gaps to tackle in order to get research more relevant in the daily practice of food professionals? We know that there are gaps. We know that there are knowledge bridges that are not bridges. They are just, going down the river. So which are the gaps and what to do about it? And also speaking about the education system. Do you actually think that the students develop the skills needed for a sustainable future agriculture in today's education system? Perhaps you do, but if not, what should we do about it? Thank you very much for allowing me to speak here. And here are some choice.
Thank you, Håkan.